So today really just seems like it's going to end up being a pretty surprising day for all of us. We got some new Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay on PlayStation, but even further, Bethesda, and specifically the Fallout 76 team, also decided to drop some surprise Fallout 76 news on us. Although funny enough, this surprise actually came with a bit of a whoopsie that we'll talk about. So earlier today, the project lead of Fallout 76 said on Twitter, "Would you folks like an early holiday gift?" And then about an hour after that, we get the surprise announcement that Fallout 76's Steel Dawn DLC, originally slated for December 1st, would be coming out today, specifically tonight at around 10 p.m. Eastern Time if you're watching this video as it went live. And explicitly what's going on is, as of right now, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, the servers are down. This tweet was actually only sent 4 minutes before 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and they are updating the game with Update 24, which includes Steel Dawn, and the other notable feature are Fallout shelters. Both of these are things available in the public test server right now. I have a first impressions video on each of them, and it's going to be a pretty big update for Fallout 76. Definitely the biggest of the year outside of Wastelanders, which is probably the biggest ever. But the hilarious part about this is it is almost certainly an accident, or not actually intended to go live today. You might be like, well, what do you mean? It seems like it's pretty intentional. Well, actually earlier in the day, there was a mysterious update that went live on Fallout 76 on the Microsoft Store and Xbox. So just out of nowhere on consoles, there was a 14 gigabyte update to download, and if you downloaded said update, you'd get this error message while trying to log in. Connection failed, client out of date, please update your client to continue. And this spawned a ton of threads about this. It's largely speculated that most players play on Xbox, and of course you have things like Game Pass over there, and you saw posts all over, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on the Reddit, or even on the official Bethesda forums of people unable to play for a couple of hours. The important note about this is it actually came quite a bit earlier today. Even though this news and announcement was made at around 4 p.m. Eastern Time, it seems like the update went live at around 12:30-ish. And then shortly thereafter that, we saw the project lead tweet this out on Twitter, and I think what actually happened here was basically Bethesda was always planning to release Steel Dawn early. Or at least that's what I thought, but I actually think I may have been wrong on that one. While I was filming this video, they actually released the statement and update that earlier today, there was an error that caused players in our Xbox community to download the Steel Dawn update ahead of schedule, but prevented them from actually playing. We immediately investigated ways to get our Xbox players back in game as soon as possible, but through our discussions, the entire BGS team felt confident Steel Dawn is ready to go. As a result, instead of rolling back the update and making everyone wait another week, we've decided to release the Steel Dawn update on all platforms today, November 24th. So honestly, that's both hilarious and kind of a cool audible by Bethesda, and in that context, this tweet makes a lot more sense. There's probably some internal discussions like, all right, how are we going to manage this? And they're like, well, why don't we just drop it? Everyone's home anyway. It's perfect timing. We are avoiding the Cyberpunk wave even a bit further. The only major downside I could see potentially coming from this is if there are major issues with the update on release. It's been on the PTS for a while, but we've seen in the past things moving from the PTS to the live servers and having some unforeseen issues, and then a fix would be somewhat delayed because of the holiday in the US right now, and most of BGS is in the US. It's actually going to be really nice to get our hands on Steel Dawn a bit early, and especially for Americans. Many of you guys are off or have some kind of holiday break for Thanksgiving, so you'll be home and able to play this in full, which is pretty awesome. And I'll be doing a full live stream and a review on all of this, so if you guys do want to subscribe, I will have that of course over the next couple of days. But that's actually not it, as also while I was filming this video, Bethesda dropped the full patch notes for the update. And although a lot of it is to be expected, I'll have my full overview of the update in a moment, there are a few surprises within the patch notes that we were not expecting. Most of these being focused around the Atomic Shop, as that is not currently available for testing on the public test server. Lunchboxes have been added to the Atomic Shop, so you could earn them via gold bullion, via a season reward, or purchase them for yourself. It only took almost 2 years, but finally my video from all the way back when is almost accurate. Another one is that Atomic Shop bundles will now have discounts if you own some of the items in the bundle. So let's say there's 6 items in the bundle, but you have already purchased one of them, it'll be cheaper overall. It's going to be interesting to see how this is calculated. It doesn't seem like it'll just be the raw purchase price, especially because bundles oftentimes are cheaper than all of the individual items. So perhaps it's not the full discount that you would get if you purchased one of the items, but a partial one. Pacifist mode in Fallout 76 will now be disabled by default, one step further to just not having PvP in adventure mode. In 2020 so far, we've seen several little tweaks or changes like this that just make it seem a lot more likely that eventually PvP will be removed completely, and I think they should just do it at this point. And then lastly, 2 of these shelters that with the medium and largest shelter will will be available later on. Due to the surprise dropping of this update, it looks like they weren't ready yet, and thus they will come at a later date. But then, as a bit of a precursor, now that we are suddenly getting this update in the next 24 hours, what can you actually expect from it? Well, as far as the game overall, we're going to see a bit of a balance change. Not anything like a comprehensive balance overhaul that we got in the past couple of updates, but this time a bit of a lighter one. Some weapon damage has been altered. So for example, on live servers, the flamer will deal predominantly energy damage and some fire damage, but after this update, weapons like a flamer, cryolator, and some other elemental based weapons or grenades will now deal full or close to full elemental damage, and this will have an impact as enemies do have different levels of damage resistances. It's not huge, it is definitely going to be a slight nerf depending on your weapon. For example, with me and my explosive flamer that has been many times called pretty OP, I was definitely dealing slightly less damage on the public test server while testing this. Hunger and Thirst will no longer act as debuffs with this update. So once the update goes live, Hunger and Thirst will buff you if you max them out, but if you let them drop to 0, will provide no debuff to your character. An important thing to note is Season 3 is still not starting until December 15th, so we have a while to wait until that actually kicks off. It's not like that was also moved up with this update, and it was technically never set to launch with Steel Dawn. And some changes are coming with this. There's actually going to be an ally you could get via the season system, so quite a bit of additional incentive to actually complete partway through it. And there's some Fallout First exclusive rewards. So if you have Fallout First, after you hit a certain rank, you'll get some rewards as a result of that membership. The other big addition is going to be Fallout shelters, these being basically camp additions. So you have an additional buildable zone in your camps in Fallout 76. They come in 3 different sizes, a small one which will be free, a medium one which you can buy on the Atomic Shop, and a larger one which will be via Fallout First and later you could buy on the Atomic Shop. The best feature of these are that they have a way higher camp budget, so you could build a lot in this relatively confined space, especially on the smallest one. It still is very easy to fill up quickly, but there's some weird restrictions on these that I know some people won't like and kind of remained on the public test server for technical reasons. So inside of these, you can't place displays, crops, vendors, or companions. Displays being a big one because that typically takes up quite a bit of camp space, but also going live with this tomorrow, we should be getting a vault themed building pack. That wasn't really on the public test server for a while, so you probably didn't get to test it so much if you were on the public test server, and it should make building overall in these a lot easier and just flow a lot better. They also have cool features like snapping to the floors and even a scrap all button by the entrance. But then of course the final and one of the biggest things is Steel Dawn, which is bringing the Brotherhood of Steel and their kind of first part to Appalachia. Steel Dawn, I worry, is going to disappoint some people because Bethesda has definitely been hyping it up. It seems like they're definitely devoting a decent chunk of the marketing budget to it. We've seen trailers, some really cool artwork for it, but it's just not nearly the scope or scale of Wastelanders. It's still a sizable and considerable DLC, but it's just not nearly as big. For me, it took around 4 hours to complete in full, and it's very much so a part 1 to the Brotherhood DLC. It ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, and they're clearly taking it somewhere else after this. It's not like this is the only time we're getting Brotherhood content, or at least it seems incredibly unlikely. So it'll be fun, but don't expect a week full of story content. For most people, if you're playing even just a couple of hours each day, it'll probably only take a few days. But fortunately, this does add in more than just story content. As a top of all of that, we also are getting some new weapons and armors added to the world. These are pretty cool. They're going to be Brotherhood themed, although the way you're going to earn these is through daily ops. And the reason this may fall a bit more on the controversial side is daily ops only allow you to earn 1 rare reward per day. So there are a variety of new items added in. You have a chance once per day to earn it. So it'll probably take you a little bit to even get your hands on everything. And then even further, what you're earning from daily ops is just the plan to craft it. From there, you still have to get a legendary enemy or the legendary purveyor to actually spawn or drop a legendary variant of this weapon. So overall, if you want a top tier version of this legendary new launcher that's really cool, it's going to take a little while. You're not going to have that in your hand tomorrow unless you are really, really lucky. But in general, I think a lot of people are going to be happy with this. It's really cool for Bethesda to be surprise dropping this during the holiday. There is a lot of content here. Over the past couple of weeks to a month or so, content in Fallout 76 has been kind of drying up. One thing thing I'm pretty interested to see is the response to the daily op weapon drop mechanic, because it's almost something you can't grind all the time. You can only get those rare rewards from the first completion each day. Most people can do it under 8 minutes on the first try, so you get that 1 drop per day. And then once you finish all the new content, you're kind of just there. So I wonder if we'll see more intermittent play over the next couple of weeks until people unlock the new weapons that are trying to grind out those rewards. But either way, it's definitely going to be a good week for Fallout 76, a ton of new content to look forward to and experience, and a great time to be experiencing all of it because again, so many of us do have off. As always, again, I thank you for watching. Hopefully you found this video informative, but until next time, I hope to see you all later.